So over the last few weeks, we've done some trainings on products, and we've got into financial planning concepts and investing concepts, and we're going to continue trafficking in that department. I think core product knowledge is really important to confidence and getting results in the field. And my goodness, are we getting results in the field? I mean, we were over 100,000 points as a team last month, which is huge. And that's a lot of clients being served. That's a lot of accounts being serviced. That's a lot of conversations being had, and we're just making a huge impact there. But I want to shift gears the next couple of weeks and talk a little bit more about foundational kind of getting going in our business. And this message over the next couple of weeks, probably at least the next 3 weeks, we're going to break it up in a few different subjects, is we want to build a training series on if you are starting brand new in the business today. How would you go about building out a prospect list? How would you go about thinking about your marketplace and spheres of influence and where relationships are coming from? And then lead on to, understanding some key things in our playbook and scripting and contacting. And so the hope here, what I'm trying to line up is over the next couple of weeks leading into the Cincinnati event, where the Wealth Wave tools and how other guys are using them and how other people are growing their businesses is going to be really showcased. I want to really lay the groundwork here and get everybody in the practice of using the tools we have access to, sprucing up our contacting efforts, increasing that activity. And so I've asked Alec to kind of run point on that. And he might call on some others as time goes on here, but I want to take a step back and Alec, by the way, I've told a few people this here. Alec is in my opinion as good, if not better, than me at this area of the business. I mean, he's just really skillful and experienced. By the way, I'd put Ryan Wagner up. I think Ryan Wagner is one of our best networkers in terms of relationships. He continually bumps into opportunities and quality people. And so hopefully over the next couple of weeks, you can learn from the two of those guys and maybe a few others on how to really get this whole thing going. And if you're not brand new, then the second part applies to you, which is I think all of us are always in a position of reinventing our business and getting back to the fundamentals. And you can be in the NFL, but you still have to block and tackle. You still have to catch the ball, right? You still have to catch the ball before you turn upfield and try to gain yardage. It still will always get back to fundamentals. And if we skip over fundamentals or get bored of them or tired of them, ultimately we're going to all pay the price for that. And so I want to encourage you guys to double down on note taking and really appreciating what we're going to cover the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we add a ton of value. So with that being said, I want to turn over to Alec Falkenberg.
All right, perfect. Before we dive in, Tyson, can you give us the ability to share our screen? There might be a portion there. I'll share my screen. So while when we're getting in, what I want to cover today is if you're completely brand new or just kind of in those early stages, what does it look like to build a prospect list, get some names organized and put together? And what does it look like to really get to contacting and getting your business up and running? And then I'm going to have Ryan cover for a few minutes what it would look like then years in. So both of us have grown our businesses significantly here over the last 12 months, but with him being that much farther and deeper and longer into business, I think it would be really relevant for us to hear from Ryan what he's doing, a dozen plus years in on how he was able to do that. So but if you're just getting started here today, if you're still needing to kind of get the ball rolling, you're a few months in, what does it look like to build a prospect list? Why do we need to do that? And what's the mindset going in? So first of all, I think the mindset is the most important thing. So if you understand what we're doing, what contacting people will help you feel a lot more confident when you do so. So excuse me, the first few months or first kind of initial phase of getting going in business is just simply getting the word out there. The main purpose in contacting and people and sitting down with folks is so that we can build awareness about what you're doing. going from one career to the next, or if this is a first career for you, making that transitional phase is super valuable and very important to just get the word out there. So how we go about knowing who we're supposed to get the word out to is how we go and build a prospect list. So I'll share my screen, but part of that is knowing who you are associated with. So when we're developing a prospect list, what we're wanting to do is identify the people that will find the content, the information that we share to be most relevant. And so our goal when we're building in a list is not, hey, Susie and Tom need life insurance, right? I have a cousin Billy that has a 401k to roll over, or, I think my friend Joe would be a really great teammate. Those are all valuable, and those are people that we'll want to contact, but making sure that we're not filtering people before we contact them is really valuable. Otherwise, we're just going to try and put them into a corner. And so the initial phase is just getting the word out there. So Ryan Schwanz and I actually had a meeting here a couple of weeks ago, and the guy that we were meeting with had a lot of questions. He was fairly apprehensive to what we were doing, and then as we got in, he was a lot more opened up. But I had explained to him, hey, when we're sitting down with folks, the whole purpose of why we talk to people that are closest friends and family first, and people that kind of fill into these characteristics of an ideal client, is those are the people that care and trust us the most. And so imagine opening a restaurant for the first time, and you've never opened a restaurant before, or it's about to be a grand opening. Instead of just opening it up to the public, you're going to do what would be considered a soft, friends and family, close people that are going to give you honest feedback and see what they think of the service, the food quality, the atmosphere, the venue, all of those things. And that's exactly what we do for our business. Maybe they won't end up being our clients. However, the people that are closest to us can be our biggest advocates. So that's a word that I tell folks when I'm first getting started, when we're making phone calls, and even to this day, 8 years in, I say, hey, I'm looking for advocates for my business. Maybe it's a fit, maybe it isn't. So who are the people that we think would be most find what we talk about to be most relevant. So the first one is an acronym called MACHO. MACHO stands for married, age, which is 35 and up. C stands for children. H is for homeowner, and then O is for occupation. These numbers are fit to be, movable. They're flexible in nature. But when I got started in business at 22, my 22-year-old broke college friends may not have been too concerned about life insurance and retirement planning. But as I got to talk to my uh, my friends' parents, people that were a little bit older, a little bit farther ahead in life, this was very valuable information. Doesn't mean that they are going to be a client, doesn't mean that they're going to have a need, but those people are going to recognize and understand what we are doing really well. And so that's a really good acronym to use when it comes to who could potentially be an ideal client. Second, when it comes to teammates, is an acronym which stands for it's BAD. So business owner, mindset, ambitious, and dissatisfied. So again, as a reminder, this isn't necessarily geared for, okay, this person can only talk to them about being a teammate because they're dissatisfied in their current career. Not necessarily that, but it helps us know when we sit down with them. What we're looking for as field trainers is hot buttons. So when I sit down with a teammate, and then we can ask some questions. I think someone unmuted themselves, but when we're sitting down and talking to a prospect, and we can see them kind of lean in, or they show a lot of interest in, the rule of 72 or the E to E movement, or talking about life insurance, we can know beforehand that it might be relevant for them. So all of that being said, that's helping us kind of know who we should be writing down. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So when it comes to getting those names organized and on the board, it's super easy. We all have social media or our cell phones to just say, okay, well, we've got 1,000 names. But do we actually know those 1,000 people? So if we feel like we have 1,000 relationships, it's going to seem really easy to just go sporadic and hog wild. So what we would recommend, and what I would recommend doing when I was getting started and getting going, was developing a top 25 list. And those top 25 were the absolute closest relationships that kind of filtered through that macho and bad, who were kind of the more qualified people for every kind of indicator that they hit in those acronyms was a point for them, and the more relevant, higher for, the more I knew those people were going to find this information relevant. So top 25 people, and then maybe a top 100 list thereafter. And then everyone else can kind of fall into what we would call a raw materials list. So if you have kind of those three lists and you're always continuously adding names or recognizing where people are at, it's going to help you stay a lot more organized. So that top 25 list, instead of feeling like you have to call all 1,000 people at a time, what if you just focused on 25 at a time? We walk through, and for those of you that maybe are on the recording here in the future, if you haven't already, you've learned about the perpetual warm market system. Just focusing on those 25 people at a time, it's going to lead to a lot more results and allow for you to work through people a lot quicker. And then you're constantly warming up other relationships, someone you ran into that you haven't talked to in a while, you catch up with them and you're adding them to a list and moving them up into a warmer before they hit your top 25 list. But when you're working through that top 25 list, what I try to do with teammates is say, hey, let's just call 5 to maybe 10 people at a time, not feeling like you have to make 25 calls in one sit down, but a couple calls at a time will allow for you to just get some immediate results. You make 5 calls, maybe 3 of them you need to leave a voicemail, 2 of them say you're good to meet, and then you got to follow up with those people. And so by only doing a few at a time makes it a lot more simpler to keep track of. And then as we get through that 25, we go to that top 100 list and we can bring 25 over again. That's going to help you stay organized and focused on who you need to be talking to and stay on the task at hand. So once you get further into this, once you get more comfortable, as we need to build and develop more names, what I would focus you on is what we would call spheres or centers of influence. So think about where you're spending time. Where do you go to work out at? Do you have a current occupation already? Who are your closest friends, family members? Are you in community groups? Do you go to a church? Where are you spending your time on a weekly basis? And the easiest thing that you need to keep in mind, and the most important thing, is that we're not saying, okay, these people need to give me money and feel overwhelmed. It's just simply getting the information out about what we do. And so putting a name on a list is not saying, hey, I need to take their money or they need to give me their money. It's just simply wanting to share the information about what we do. So when you can organize those names, you can then recognize, hey, I'm spending a lot of time at my local gym. Okay, well, who are the people that I'm talking to at the gym? Maybe you have 3 or 4 people, but they're not on a list currently. We'll add them to a list and then see what it takes to then warm that relationship up and go from there. And what I'll say too, then kind of encapsulating all of this is when you're getting going and getting started, this should all be done with a mentor or field trainer, whatever the title is that you would want to call it, someone helping you in business. So if you have someone like me or Ryan Wagner or Tyson or Lisa, whoever it is, this is someone that's going to help walk you through all of this process. So your job is to not have to manage and keep track of all of this from day one. We're going to give you those responsibilities as time progresses. But the important thing is that we're getting together and knowing who we're contacting. So when I sit down with a teammate, hey, we're going to talk Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Have a list of 5 to maybe 10 names that that you want to be reaching out to. We show up and they say, hey, this is Joe. This is my friend from church, or this is a coworker of mine. And that's kind of where the relationship is at. And then from there, you make the contact. So then getting into making a contact, again, this isn't overcomplicated. Again, mindset is everything here. So just understanding that we're really only looking to share the information about what we do. Maybe it's a fit, maybe it isn't. So in the playbook that I had referenced earlier, I'm going to share my screen again. There are scripts in there. So there are different scripts that we already have written out for you. So the first is the Change Your Literacy, Change Your Life page. As we kind of get into more of the Wealth Wave One platform, we might come back to this here in a moment. But the emphasis that I wanted to show here in a moment is is that we have a script kind of written out already. So if you don't know what to say, you feel maybe uncomfortable or nervous about how to word something, we've already written it out for you. Read it verbatim. I told some people the other day in a meeting that my first ever phone call, I said, "Hey, comma, I don't know if you've heard or not." And you could follow, you could see that I was just following along with my finger. It didn't go well, right? So I would encourage you to practice this, spend some time on it on your own, spend some time with your trainer before you start making contacts. But whether it's a text message or it's a phone call or a face-to-face conversation, whatever it is, making sure you know what it looks like and how it feels coming out of your mouth, how it sounds, making it your own is going to make this feel a lot more comfortable and natural. So we have one typed out just for this Change Your Literacy, Change Your Life initiative that we have. But then we have the presentation invite script. So this is where we're wanting to invite someone to say, hey, I want to spend 10, 15, 20 minutes with you, tell you a little bit about what it is that we do. I want to introduce you to a business partner. I'm looking to get the word out there. You can see we walk exactly through what to say and how to say it. Make it your own. There might be some words that you need to change to make it more of your own personal language, but the emphasis is that we feel a lot more comfortable about this, and this will tell you exactly what needs to be vocalized to your prospective client or person that we're meeting with. So when we go to make those calls, I have the people that I'm working with and helping them get going. We practice this beforehand. They're doing it on their own time. We get together, we're walking through, making sure they feel comfortable. But then why we do contacting together, especially in the early stages, is the ability to give you feedback. If I'm like, I have Tyson sit down some meetings with me still because I want to make sure that I'm getting accurate information. You know, where did I go wrong or how could I have done this better? If we aren't sitting there with you and listening in on your conversation, we don't know what went wrong. If you say, hey, I called 5 people and all of them said no, well, why? Did you say, hey, pick up? I've had this, happen before with a teammate. They get nervous. They say, I'm trying to sell you life insurance. We're not trying to do that. And that's going to make a call go south really quick. And so having this understanding of this is what we're kind of trying to vocalize to somebody, then two, having someone there to help give you feedback will help you excel much, much quicker here in our business. So I want to stop there and pause for a second. So did anybody have questions about anything we walked through here? Is there anything else you'd want me to kind of cover that I haven't already? Going on. All right. So with that, so that's what we need to do getting started. So that process this is something that's never supposed to end. So by the time once you hit the ground running and making those initial contacts, the goal is that you're forever doing that. It's a continuous cycle. And so with that, you're going to have you're going to have a trainer working with you on the early stages. But as you get more comfortable and you get more confident and you get into business, Tyson's not sitting there with me making phone calls, watching me make phone calls 8 years in. However, as time progresses, there's other things that he helps me with. But what does it look like to hold yourself personally accountable? What does it look like to continue to build a list, gather names, and continue to propel and increase your business as time progresses? And with that, I would want Ryan Wagner to talk about that. Ryan, I'll have you kind of cover how long you've been in business now at this point, but even this many years in, he has excelled his business. He's increasing rapidly, and so he'll be a perfect person to tell us how he's been able to do that and what what that'll allow for him to do here in the next 12 to 18 months. So, Ryan, I'll let you take over, and I will meet my.
Hey, awesome stuff, Alec. I think the point I would emphasize is the revolving nature of our our business is there's things that change with time, but there's some things that don't change with time. And what I mean by that is, the pursuit of following up with or planting seeds with people is one of those fundamentals to our business. How we go about doing that, I would say, has changed from when I first started in this business over 14 years ago. I think what we have nowadays is incredible with the wealth wave, how money works, the CYL websites. I mean, guys, we have a way of putting a soft resource in people's hands that basically just it opens communication. It gives us a chance to kind of poke our foot in the door, tell people, hey, we're serious about helping others, and this is how we're doing it, and this is how we're distinguishing ourselves. So just wanted to double down on all of what Alec has said in terms of, the framework is all there. It's all in the playbook. We can all go read that, and stick to that. I would say, if I'm, speaking to this from, someone kind of, I'm not on the by no means on the back end of my business, but at least, further down the road than when I started, that, those profilers mean the world, because now with having those clients who are, 7, 8, 9 year clients in my, book of business, those people lead me to great referrals. And so great clients lead to great referrals. And so it all starts from the beginning of following that process, and then obviously matching that up with all the marketing stuff that we have through How Money Works. So, just making sure that you're utilizing those tools to the best of your ability, working with a trainer, obviously, if you're brand new. But yeah, so speaking more to kind of the veteran side to what I've been able to accomplish is kind of what I was just alluding to, is a lot of my activity right now is dominated with servicing clients and then referrals from those clients. Every now and again, I'm obviously, referring back to those spheres of influence that Alec talked about, planting seeds, doing lunches, coffees, as opportunities present themselves. I love that aspect of our business, by the way. I mean, just having a business that forces me to get out and refine the human connection, which is, in my opinion, a lost art as we've kind of just progressed with the era we live in. And I'm watching my teenager, and just the changing ways of our world right now. I love that we can have a human connection business, that thrives on relationship. And so, just wanted to encourage us to not lose the love of that, because, we're in a relationship business. When it comes down to it, people are gonna follow us because they like us, they trust us. There's a strength to what we propose within our plans that can never be, replaced by a computer or a robot. So anyhow, getting back to these servicing opportunities, when you've done that groundwork, everything Alex talking about, you are going to have service opportunities for clients that you wrote business for, all these years later. Family dynamics change, kids get added. Literally just texted one of my very first clients. They just had their 7th kid. When I first met with them, they were pregnant with their first. So you progress through the life stages with your clients, and you're there to meet the needs of that changing family dynamic. So yeah, you're in those, macho and bad, framework in the beginning, and then that helps inform you how you're going to prospect ongoing. And I would say my clients help me know who to go prospect next. And what I mean by that is, you may have heard, the reference to my network is heavily saturated within the government workforce down here, being that we're right near a large Air Force base. I had a short stint there working, and then my wife is still plugged into that network too. So those two, backgrounds, so to speak, help me prospect in markets that I know are going to have a favorable outcome. Now, I'm not saying it's a guaranteed prospecting effort, but it helps inform me who I'm going to spend my prospecting time with rather than trying to just sling some mud against the wall, and kind of hope for the best. No, I'm very strategic about who I'm prospecting, in terms of just I know what cash flow is roughly like, they're deeper into their careers. There's just some unique planning needs when it comes to military type people and pensions in my area are a little bit different than say some of the state pensions that maybe you all run into. Not too different, but just suffice it to say that I've learned from my clients how to go about prospecting, other people just like them. I mean, it's kind of like hitting the copy button in the simplest sense of the word. It's find one, understand what kind of the basic structure of financial planning that you're going to do. Obviously, we're customizing everything we put forth for clients, but it gives you that framework. It informs me how to prospect, and it's just it's really really helpful when you've done that groundwork though that Al talked about, because that groundwork got me to kind of a place where I'm in circles where quality prospects are being referred to me, and just longtime clients. I mean, just sheer length of time of having been in this and having clients that have entrusted me for 10, 11, 12 years. Those lead obviously into a lot of indirect trust referrals, and so I'm working with a couple of those right now, some out of state, some local. That's the beauty of our kind of post-COVID business is, getting these licenses, turning them on all over the US, and just working those markets that present themselves. So that would be kind of the presiding message as you look at your beginning stages here. I would say there were tons of moments where we didn't have How Money Works content, and I didn't know quite how to plant the seed. But you put yourself out there, you make kind of an uncomfortable phone call, and I remember doing tons of that, and so it leads to a foundation in your business that brings you to a place like I'm at, where referrals come in, high quality referrals, and then just yeah, hitting the copy button on that. So yeah, everything Alec is saying, again, I can't overstress that enough.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. So before wrapping up here, is there any questions, or do any of you feel like you're having challenges with building a list or generating a list at all?
While I was listening to you guys here, I was kind of looking at my lists and stuff too. And I think I need to go over my lists and try and hone it into a better macho um, realm, just because a lot of my people on here are probably, I'm focusing on a little bit younger side that don't necessarily have the means. Like I said before, I'm just not finding the right people. So I just need to put a little bit more time into finding more of the right people with that. So I think that's where my next real task is, to try and hone in a little bit better on who I'm calling.
Yeah, I think that's super valuable. I was telling my fiance yesterday, when it comes to all of this, 1,000 contacts to the wrong people is, it's of no value. So, making sure, one contact to the right person is better than many, many, many to the wrong people. It doesn't mean that just because someone's younger that they're the wrong person, but maybe they're not as high on the priority list before some other people. So, yeah, I think, Ryan, that's really good of kind of recognizing and organizing who might be the more relevant people or more important people to prioritize. And then from there contacting them. So yeah. Any other, questions, thoughts, comments about, when it comes to list building or making those contacts?
Just
No.
one comment yeah, to what Ryan was saying. I mean, that doesn't mean we, don't offer up help to a single person, just because it's, not a lucrative piece of business, because single people tend to date and get married, and, that could lead into a long-term fruitful relationship. So as long as the relationship is good, you see, a good career, a good foundation, there's, I think, things within someone's situation that might seem overwhelming at first, with some debt and little savings, and, that's our country, that's our mission to not overlook those people. So, kind of divorce yourself from a big paycheck on some of these prospects, and serve people, and don't spend a lot of time with those. I mean, put them on a debt snowball plan and tuck them into your, follow-up list every year. But, I think those can lead to longer term fruitful connections.
Yeah. Yeah. I give two examples now. At 21 years old and here $300. And to me, uh, I another person that he's just recently got engaged this past weekend. But he's my age and he started with me a couple years ago, and he's making well over $200,000 a year. And so you just never know. So I think Ryan Wagner just said it well, like still put them on the list, absolutely call them and reach out. But maybe they're just not in the top 25 quite yet. So yeah, well, if there's nothing else, then we'll wrap it up here today. And like Tyson said, we're going to kind of stay focused on the getting your business going here phase. So when we get back together next week, we'll kind of curtail further into what comes after contacting, and continue to progress and make sure we're all on the same page of the message we're putting out there, and how we're going about using the tools that we have at our disposal. So with that, we'll wrap it up here, and we'll get back together here again in a week.
That's good.